Alright everybody, so starting the second gen swap today. This is more of just like a like a journal entry sort of thing. I'm not gonna do a how-to, just because this is my first time doing this, so I am kind of just going through it as I am. So yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of do it like here and there and make little notes, and yeah, just kind of see how it goes. So fingers crossed. All right, let's get started. All right, so I got the old turbo and manifold out. I'll show you. This thing is extremely heavy and awkward. The oil drain is not going to come out easy. As you can see, I basically had to squeeze it with vice grips and then use a pry bar to pry it out of the hole, because you can't get access to either of these bolts down there. I think this one is kind of, but this one there's no way. And then getting it out, you have this in the way, you've got this in the way. It does not want to come out easy. So it's out, and I'm getting the new one in now. Alright everybody, so the second gen swap is complete. I have the old turbo here, and I kind of wanted to go over a few things about taking the old turbo out, and then we'll go over to my truck and I'll kind of talk about like some things on the truck when it comes to taking that out, and then I'll also go over the kit that I had. So when it comes to the old turbo, there's a few things that are kind of a pain, so I'm going to point those out now. So one of them is the oil drain. So these are 210s. However, when you're underneath the truck, those 210s are impossible to get at. So the best way to get it is taking the drain out. But the older your truck is, the more these are going to be kind of like frozen in there. So basically what I had to do was like take a pair of vice grips and clamp them on there and then pound it out with a hammer. So that was kind of a pain to get to and get out, but I did eventually. It just took some elbow grease. Another thing is these back bolts. So I don't have them anymore, I don't think. Let me check actually. Okay, I do still have one. So on these back bolts, and then on these ones as well, you have these like metal clips. Like this one's kind of mangled, but they basically, this goes on the bolts, and being that it's factory, they're pretty much like frozen on there. So you have to like get a pair of vice grips on there and just kind of like rip them off. I'm not sure what years or what certain ones have them. I just know mine had them, and I had no idea about them. They weren't in the instructions for putting or taking this out, so I'm not sure. But that was also kind of a hindrance. And the reason why I didn't record a lot of this was because honestly, like, this was my first time doing it. I knew like the basics of what I was doing, but I really didn't know, like, you know, all the little nitty gritty stuff. So I kind of was just going at it, and I was on limited time, so I needed to get it done by a certain time. So yeah, I think that's just about it with these down here, or this turbo. Let's head over to the truck, and then yeah, we'll head over to the truck, and then I'll kind of point some other things out from there. Alright, let's go. Okay, so now we're at my truck. So there's a couple things I wanted to point out. When you're going to take off the old manifold, there, like I said, there's those clips, and then
there are a couple things when it comes to like getting the old one out. There's this bolt down here. It's that lower one. So getting the new one in is not a problem. It's the getting the old one out. So you have the bolt and stud that like bolts the manifold to the head. Then on top of that stud, so it's like these. So it's like a bolt and then there's a stud on the top. So then bolted to that stud is the heat shield. And so, like, which is all fine and dandy, except for you have this coolant riser pipe that is in front of it. So, not only do you have those two bolts, but then that coolant riser pipe is in front of it. So you're like, okay, well then I'll just I'll take the coolant riser pipe out to get it out of the way. Except for it's bolted to the block behind the alternator over here, so you can't actually take it out without taking the alternator out, which turns this project into even longer of a project. So you really just have to kind of work your tools in there and get it out. That's what I did. I kept that coolant riser pipe in there and basically just worked around it, and it is what it is, and just so then on top of that, so there's just everything seems to be in the way when you're trying to take the old manifold out and turbo, and with the way the turbo is, the way it's bolted on, you can't get the turbo unbolted from the manifold. So you have to take it all out as one unit, and it weighs a ton, and then you've got so many things in the way, like the coolant riser pipe. You got the engine mount to pull the motor out. There's another coolant riser pipe in the back, and it's just everything seems to be in the way. You just kind of have to work it out, and eventually it'll come out. But otherwise, I don't think anything else was really too much of a pain. Just getting the new turbo drain in was kind of a pain, but that wasn't too bad. So I think that's about it. But I did want to kind of go over some of my gripes with the industrial injection kit, because that's what I bought. I went with industrial injection. I just know they've been around for a while. They've been a pretty big name in the diesel industry. And, the thing is when it comes to second gen swaps, most of the kits are almost identical. They're all the same, pretty much. There's two designs for the actual exhaust manifold itself, and they're basically all the same. They just, each person stamps their different name on it. And then there's the one that's made by a certain company, I can't remember who, but it's the Steed Speed manifold, and that's their patented design, and that's their own thing, but otherwise it's pretty much all the same. So but I went with them, and the turbo that I have is it's the Borg Warner S464. I was looking at getting the S467, but the thing is that with the 467, it's such a large turbo that it really, to make it happy, you really have to upgrade fuel, and I just really wasn't looking to do that right now. I mean, this has already turned into enough of a project than I wanted it to be. So yeah, that's why I ended up going with the 464, because it doesn't need fuel upgrades to make it happy. It works as it should. It's still a good turbo for towing and daily driving. So it ended up being the better choice to go with the 464. So yeah, but I do have some gripes with it though. So there are certain things that like the kit includes, but they don't include other things with it. So for this coolant riser pipe here, like where it actually connects to the motor, is actually supposed to be completely deleted, but the plug that you get to delete this pipe, so on the motor they're square, like they're like a 3/8 drive impact, or a 3/8 drive hole. Well, the one for that is a hex head, and it's like a large hex head, so like I would have to have gone and gotten a completely different socket just to install that, and I wasn't really, I didn't really want to do that. I was almost completely done with putting this kit together, so I just said screw it, and I kept this old riser pipe in. It doesn't change anything, nothing's in the way, so I just left it, and it works fine. The other things, there are a few other things too. So this kit that I got is for 07.5 to 09. However, with the 07 to 09, you have that rear coolant riser, which gets in the way of the downpipe. I'll show you. Basically, like, they're touching together. And the only way to get the downpipe in was to move that. And when I say move, I mean like I had to get a ratchet strap and like basically pull it out of the way to get it, the downpipe, to be able to bolt it on. So that was not something I was happy with the industrial injection kit. But it's on there, it works. Until it gives me a problem, I'm not going to worry about it. Another thing I didn't really like was that the oil drain, they used an OE oil drain, which again, like I said, when it comes to putting it back into the block is kind of a pain. You really have to work with it and get it in there. It took me a while to get that one in. I would have rather had, there's other kits that use like a stainless steel braided line, and basically there's like a plug that goes in there, you pound that in, and then it like screws into that plug, which would have been a lot easier, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I don't really have too many complaints about the kit. I am happy with it. The instructions were a little vague with certain things. There was just like things that I would run into that I was like, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be this way or that way, or which bolts, like you get like a million bolts with the kit, and like none of them are labeled as for what is for what, and just like you kind of just have to play a guessing game, and well, these thread in, and it's kind of what it looks like, so you kind of just go with that. But the only, like, my major gripe with this kit is, so I deleted my truck before, so I already had a 4-inch exhaust. So, and the way that it looks when you go to buy the kit is that it looks like the downpipe bolts to like an already pre-existing, exhaust system, like an aftermarket one. The problem is that the downpipe isn't as long as the original downpipe. So basically there's like, I want to say like a foot and a half to maybe 2 foot gap between the downpipe and the rest of the system. So for me, it wasn't a problem because the kit that I bought, the exhaust system I bought, was basically a universal for the quad cab and the mega cab. So when I put mine on, because mine's a quad cab, I had an extra bit of pipe. So I put it in a cabinet. I was like, whatever, I'll hold on to it in case I need it. Well, when it came to putting this system in, I ended up needing it. So for me, it was like, it worked out that I had that extra bit of pipe. However, if you have a mega cab you're kind of SOL because you already have to use that pipe because of the longer truck base. So basically you're SOL unless you can get to like a truck shop or whatever, or an exhaust shop to have that, you know, piece of pipe made to fit and completely seal up the exhaust system, which is kind of, you know, if it's a system built for a certain kind of truck, it should be long enough to complete up with like the regular exhaust system. So that was my biggest complaint, was that it should have, that should be worked out for a kit for that's specifically made for this truck. Otherwise, I don't really have any other complaints. Oh, the other thing is too is, so they include this plate. It's actually kind of cool. It's supposed to go in the front here, over the intake, and it's, you know, it's got industrial injection cut out of it and stuff like that, and it's kind of cool. And like I said, it's supposed to go like right here. The only problem is that, so it bolts here, the original air box, it bolts here and here on the intake, and then here. Well, if you have a remote start on your truck like I do, this gets blocked. So basically you can't use that cutout they have, which, like I said, is actually kind of cool. And the nice thing is my tuning software works with it too, so I didn't have to change anything out with that. It pretty much worked like right away. So overall I'm pretty happy with it. It sounds, you can actually hear the turbo now, and it sounds nice, and I'm getting better gas mileage, so I really can't complain. I mean, it was a little expensive, but otherwise, like, I don't gotta worry about it anymore. So yeah, everything's done. I'll try and get some sound clips and videos and stuff for you soon. But yeah, otherwise stay tuned. I'm not really sure what's next, but I'll find something. I always do. So alright, I'll see you guys later.